Welcome back to Not Weave Stitch. In this powerful and heartfelt episode, I sit down with Lauran Wilkinson of Create Flow for a deeply honest conversation about creativity, resilience, and women's health. Lauran talks openly about her experience of crafting while living with endometriosis and how it has shaped her relationship with her body and her work, and the ways creativity can become both a coping tool and a source of empowerment. I want to thank Lauran again for her openness in this conversation. This episode contains open discussion about endometriosis, chronic pain, and women's health, including some medical details. It also touches on anxiety and mental well-being. Please listen with care and take breaks if you need to. The thoughts and opinions shared in this episode are our own and are based on our own personal experience. We are not medical professionals, and this conversation is not intended as medical advice. Please consult a qualified healthcare professional for personalised support or treatment. So, Lauran, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast today. I'm really looking forward to this chat. I think it's going to be a really important topic to discuss there. So thank you so much for this.
No, thank you for having me.
Amazing. So first of all, I wanted to kick off by finding out a little bit more about you. So if you could tell us a bit about yourself and what crafts you do.
So I've always been a creative person. So I went to uni, did fine art. Originally, I was into painting and drawing, and then I suppose as my diagnosis of endometriosis came about, I was then interested in exploring how endometriosis basically feels to me, like my symptoms of pain and brain fog, etc. And then using creativity through digital manipulation. I use metaphors and symbolisms, so I'm very much interested in using natural subjects like flowers for their symbolism of purity and beauty, the fragility, and then using Procreate to transform them into a whole new image that is abstract and relates to my own feelings towards my body and how I visually see what the pain would look like. And then from the manipulated images, I then transfer that onto a physical material format. So usually that might involve printing that onto organza. So it's that whole juxtaposition of a fluid-like material, which is translucent, with an image which can be very harsh, dark. Usually it has sparks of red in it, and the images are representative of vagina. And then usually I use items which kind of like, again, symbolism of pain and that. But then the last year, I've actually moved on to fibre arts. I hated it before. I had no intention or no aspiration to get into textiles, because I always hated how I couldn't get the thread through the eye of the needle.
I feel your pain.
So like I always used to watch my mom do embroidery and that, and I was like, oh no, I can't be dealing with that. But actually I found myself in moments where I felt stuck, where I was physically in pain, so I couldn't move, or mentally stuck in that I had no motivation in doing anything, or no interests or anything to do with making. I actually found myself picking up a crochet hook and some yarn, and I just started crocheting, not following a pattern, just free forming it. So just
Yeah.
making up as I go. And then it kind of evolved from there where I started to use the yarn and the crochet hook to use as like a way of expressing again my symptoms. So using metaphors with the yarn, such as knotting, stretching, um, all kind of different movements with my hands, which then I've moved on to weaving, and now I'm currently onto embroidery,
Oh
funny
my
enough.
goodness.
Yeah,
A whole range
it's
of crafts.
yeah, it's like I think my practice has always evolved. So it's always depended on where I am in my life and what it is I'm trying to express. Because I struggle with verbally describing symptoms or myself or what's going in my head. I've always been quite nervous in yeah, I stammer. I don't know how to get the words out. So through making art, I'm able to use that as a visual platform to say, look, this is me, this is how I'm feeling, this is what this represents, and it's like almost like a diary where I can just open the pages and be like, okay, this is me today. That was me the other day. And yeah,
I
so
think that's just
that's
incredible.
yeah,
I think that's a really amazing thing to be able to do, to go from that kind of more digital side to then more of the
yes.
fiber arts and being able to express it kind of visually how you're feeling. Because I know for like my mental health, it's so difficult sometimes to actually describe exactly
Yeah,
how you're feeling. So I think that that's a
yeah.
really great way of doing it.
Well, it's not just that though. You know, quite often with any form of anxiety, you know, as little as it can be, the feeling of whether you're being gaslit or just not being heard, it gives you that kind of like that escapism and that ability to just let it out, just
Yeah,
to be able to breathe. And not only that, through kind of reflecting it onto something visual, you're also able to kind of reflect to think, oh, okay, this is all the energy that I'm building up, whether it's good or bad. This is what's like been holding me back almost. It's like almost like it's that whole flow. Um, and how it can just bring a bit of positivity into your life, no matter how
yeah.
little it can be.
I think it's really important to have that kind of area of therapy in a
Mm,
way in order to kind of express that. And
yes.
I I think it's fascinating how you've kind of are you kind of self-taught then with the fiber arts? Like, did you do any of that previously in university or anything like that, or you literally just self-taught kind of from the crochet onwards?
Self-taught. So I just found myself watching TikTok or YouTube videos. And then I just started collecting materials and tools off Marketplace. Um, and then I just went from there, really.
That's that's so amazing. That's and this is the thing. Like I did the same with mine. How I kind
Yeah.
of just self-taught, and you find as you kind of grow and change, you find that art form that kind of speaks to you, and then you're just like, trying to teach yourself
Yeah,
how to do it.
it becomes addictive. Because also um it's sorry, I just lost my train of thought.
That's all right.
So it becomes addictive and you find yourself continuously drawn to it. So what I loved about the crochet to start off with was the fact I could pick it up and put it back down and I wouldn't lose where I was.
Yeah,
And because it was free form, it didn't matter like if I made a mistake, you know, if I was the I can't follow patterns myself. I really struggle in counting the stitches,
yeah,
etc. And knowing like I don't know all the anagrams of what the singles crochet stitches,
It's like a whole
etc.
nother language, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And I just found it like just removed myself and didn't put pressure on myself to try and learn that whole new language. And just went with it. And yeah, even my husband said to me, he was like, "Oh, he's like you're more married to the bloody crochet hook than to me." Because I was literally using it that much as a form of release.
Yeah.
Every moment I had basically, and it just grew and grew and grew. Um, so yeah, yeah, I really never thought I'd be at this stage in my practice where I'd be using textiles. I always thought myself as a painter. Um, but there you go, you never know.
Well, this is the thing. It's art where it can take you anywhere.
Yeah, yes, it can,
Oh,
definitely.
that's amazing. I just love that. So, do you basically make up your own designs then? If you're not following patterns, it just basically comes up from literally stemming from how you're feeling.
Yeah, that's correct. So, the color of the yarn is important. So, I try to pick colors which I'd imagine if I was to look inside myself where endometriosis is or could be. I try to imagine what that would look like. And so then I try to use the different colors and the way I stitch or hook the materials together, especially with like weaving. So the fact that with weaving you can like add so much like masses of um wool together, and you can like almost like twist it and just merge it all together and make so many different like um what's the word textures.
Yeah.
So it becomes sensory as well.
I was going to say with
um
your piece, when I've seen some of them on your Instagram, and I
yeah,
just want to kind of like it makes me want to just kind of like feel the piece and like try to
yes,
understand like through that texture how you were feeling at that time. I can
yeah,
you can kind of feel it through just a picture as well. It's really interesting to me just seeing it from a photo, your work. I think
yeah.
it's amazing.
Well, it's quite funny because when people have seen it in person, a lot of the time they're like, "Oh, I just want to touch it," and and I always say, "You're welcome to touch it. It's there to be touched. It's there to be looked at." Um, at the end of the day, it's important for the whole material to be observed.
Yeah,
Um, which then again, I suppose, comes back to the metaphors of you know, women's health, gynecology, and how quite often it's misled or it's invisible or dismissed.
yeah,
It's, that whole taboo misogyny where you just feel like you're being fobbed off or not investigated properly
yeah.
to a
I've
level
definitely
where,
had that in
yeah,
my experience. I don't know about kind of
yeah,
with if you don't mind talking a little bit about your
no.
experience, like how have you find kind of what your thoughts on women's health care and from your experience, what has that been like?
Um, it's been like Marmite. Um, so I've had good and bad experiences. It all depends down to the practitioner.
Yeah,
I'd say when I first started getting symptoms, I was, as most people, well, being told it's just period pain.
yeah,
I've also been told that it was more likely a UTI or a STI, and had multiple urine tests and being told it's clear, as well as IBS. I think so this was like from the age of 18,
right.
because I can't really remember struggling before then, but when I actually moved away from home for uni, I had a really bad period, like a period of time where I was bleeding heavily, and the one day I actually got my housemates to take me to A&E, because I was in so much pain. I was bleeding so much.
Yeah.
I was scared. And then got to the hospital and it's like, oh, you're fine, basically. There's nothing wrong with you. And then
Yeah.
it progressed from there. So when I moved back home, I went to my local doctors and I went through a whole list of them basically, until I reached one female doctor who was very caring and listened. And she was the first one who said about endometriosis. I had no idea what it was.
Yeah.
And then she referred me to Mr. Morsey, um, and he was amazing. So he listened to me and he instantly got me down to looking at ultrasounds, MRIs. He did a laparoscopy, and then he'd check up on me to see how I was. Because even though it wasn't as infiltrating as what other patients have experienced, like some women which I've worked with, like they've had their organs like entwined together just from this disease,
Right.
and they've had to have hysterectomies or they've had to have operate invasive surgery where they've actually took away bits of bowel, or it can be really damaging.
Yeah.
But I'm lucky that I never got to that point. But however, my pain levels, they were to the point where I was actually sat on the toilet for 4 hours
Oh my
because I
God.
was in so much pain. So, sound graphic probably, but by sitting on the toilet, obviously you're opening yourself to go for a wee or a poo.
Yeah.
That was the only point where I could feel release. So
Yeah.
I wasn't going to the toilet, but by just sitting on the toilet, I was at, that was the only point where I could feel less pain. And I'd even have pain medication like paracetamol, ibuprofen. That didn't work. Cocodamol didn't really work either. And my mum at the time, actually, so my mum has ME and fibro, and she has like a list full of medication. She had tramadol,
Right.
and it actually got to the point where I was like, "Mum, can I please have a tramadol because I just can't shift this pain. This pain is making
Yeah.
me hunched over, crawling downstairs, and because I smoke as well, and I smoke to take as a distraction from the pain, even though it probably is a catch-22 in the sense that smoking makes it worse.
Yeah.
But I used to then go outside for a cigarette just so I could just have that sort of release, and then I go back upstairs to the toilet because I couldn't sit down on the sofa or lie down because the pain was that intense. Even
Yeah.
like boiling hot baths wouldn't do anything. I'd like literally have it boiling to the point where my skin was like red.
Mm.
Um, and then I had the marina coil, which helped a lot. So my symptoms seemed to suppressed a bit. However, like drinking alcohol or anything like that, I'd have massive flare-ups the days after. Um, and obviously certain foods can trigger a flare-up. But
Right.
I'd say it hadn't been that bad for a few years until the last couple of years where I'm actually currently under investigation to see whether I got endometriosis back or not.
Right.
But because of my how my body is in the sense that I experience chronic pain pretty much head to toe. I get flare-ups where I lose sense in my legs and my legs drop. Um, Also, toileting again, where I'm in agony from my back downwards, um, and just extremely exhausted all the time,
Yeah.
which aren't really common symptoms of endometriosis.
Right.
Um, So I'm currently in this period where it's I'm se again I'm at the point again where I'm second guessing myself as to whether it is endometriosis or whether it's just bowel related, even though I've had colonoscopies and it's been all clear.
Yeah.
Um, so for many women, when they're at this stage of not knowing what's going on in their body, it's isolating, scary, and it's you
It's
just don't trust yourself almost.
yeah, it's that unknown. You know something's wrong, but you don't know exactly what it is. And
Yeah,
it's so
yeah,
difficult trying to live a normal everyday life when you're in pain and getting all of these different symptoms. It's so
yeah,
difficult. And then, I don't know about you, but I know for myself and a lot of women, you don't also want to make kind of like a scene as a fuss about it. Do you know what I mean? Like, do you
yes,
go back
yeah,
to the doctor? Do you have to, get more tests and stuff like that?
yeah,
It's so difficult. You kind of want to just power on, but I can imagine it's so painful to try and deal with just a daily life.
yeah, and it's also like going to the doctors and be like, "Hey, it's me again," kind of thing. It's like, "Oh, we'll do a blood test. Your blood tests are fine." Okay. Well, what's next? You're on the
Exactly.
waiting list. You're on the waiting list to see the gynecologist. Okay. How long is that going to be? Oh, it's currently 19 weeks, it says on the app, but
Oh my
actually
goodness.
it's 43 weeks waiting. And it's like, okay. But then again, you contradict yourself and think, okay, I need this sorted, but also there's 43 weeks waiting list. And you're thinking there's someone out there who's worse than you.
Yeah.
So you almost put yourself on the back bench, being like, it's okay, another day, I'll be fine. I can wait, I can get there. Um, and
It's
it's
trying to
like,
downplay those symptoms, but
yeah,
actually, we shouldn't have to.
no, no, definitely. It's like when it's embarrassing as well in a sense, like trying to socialize. So if I go out with my girlfriends and such, I know that if, say, we go out on a night out as such, I know the next few days I can barely do much. Like I'll be in pain, I'll be back and forth to the toilet, um, and it's just symptoms which don't make you very sociable. So then that whole depression kind of like puts a weight on you because you're
Yeah.
feeling like you're not a good friend and that you're letting them down, that you're being a bore. Um,
Well, this is the thing.
and
It's not just physically, it's that
yeah,
mentally as well. I can't even imagine like how much it must have and still does take a toll on you, like mentally exhausting. And, I
yeah,
don't know if you've had any kind of like anxiety, depression, kind of stress from it.
yeah, most definitely. Like, so I've been on depression, anxiety. So I've been on antidepressants since the age of 18, on and off. But I've been on sertraline for the last 2 to 3 years. Um, and that's just to keep me sane, to put it, how it is. Um,
Anything if it helps.
yeah, exactly. And because I'm also, I'm fortunate to have a 3-year-old son. Um, because infertility is also a baddie when it
Yeah,
comes to endometriosis. So I'm lucky to have a son, but also at the same time, there's nights where it's my turn to put him to bed, and I can't do that because I'm in so much pain. I can't move. I'm exhausted to the point where I just can't concentrate.
yeah,
And that again, that adds more pressure because you feel like a failed parent, because you can't offer the nurture that they require. I know, and it's not fair on my husband for him to keep putting him to bed. I want to partake in that kind of experience, and yeah, it kind of takes that away from me.
yeah.
Um, so it's just like it's a catch 22, and it's really contradicting.
And
because obviously,
it has so much of an impact just throughout your entire life. All of these different elements. It's not just the
yeah,
pain and everything. You know, it's all of these, like you just said, with your child and everything, mental health. It affects so many different areas.
yeah, definitely. And it's like with careers and studying, the amount of times I've had to call in sick because I can't move. And then my mental health has like hit rock bottom because I feel guilty. And it's like, oh, like I'm letting them down. My studying, I'm not, my attendance is low. And then you feel like they don't believe you. They just think that you're just fobbing off, probably
Yeah,
thinking that you got a hangover or something, but that's not the case. Um, so yeah, it's not just the pain, it's not just dealing with the physical symptoms, it's also everything else which is a knock-on effect, like dominoes. It's just it's hard work,
yeah.
hard work.
This conversation with Lauran was just too powerful to squeeze into one episode. So join me next time for part 2, where we continue our chat and dive even deeper into her journey. If anything we talked about today brought something up for you, please know you're not alone. I've linked support resources in the show notes if you'd like to reach out for help. Thank you so much for listening, and I will see you in the next one.